Hi everyone, welcome back to Grow Your Groceries in Raised Beds and Containers. Today I'm going to show you how to top off the soil and re-energize it in your raised beds for your spring vegetable garden. Now when you're growing vegetables in raised beds, they take a lot of nutrients from the soil and the soil settles over time, so it's super important that you top it off and add fresh nutrients for the new growing season. Everything is super green here in the garden. It's been raining, the flowers are blooming. You can see we've been doing tree trimming and doing work. It's an absolutely beautiful day to be in the garden to top off the raised beds. Raised beds make growing vegetables so easy and so fun. We built this raised bed last year, filled it with soil, grew a ton of veggies in it. A lot of you joined us for that series. But as you grow throughout the growing season, the organic matter in the soil breaks down and the soil does settle or drop a little bit in the raised beds. And soil is your biggest investment in gardening. So there's no need to totally remove all the soil. All you need to do is top it off with some fresh nutrients, and that way you're all ready for the new gardening season. The first step when you're topping off your raised bed is to remove the old plants. Now there's lots of green here, but there's a lot of things growing that I don't necessarily want to grow again this spring. I'm going to be saving some of the plants, but taking out a lot of the old so that I can make room to top the soil off. When should you top off your soil? Ideally, you want to do it a couple of weeks before you plant your new vegetables, because that gives the microbes in the compost that we're going to add time to kind of get cooking and recharge the soil. But if you can't do that, and no big deal, you can even do this the day that you plant. Now some of these plants I am going to be saving or leaving in place, so just use your best discretion. I know it's hard to remove plants that still look really nice and that are growing, but because it's been cold here, there's not a ton of edible things growing here in the garden, so I'll probably find some little surprises of things that I can harvest, but definitely making room for some nice new fresh warm weather veggies. So we'll clear the bed, remove the trellises, then we'll be ready for the top off. One of the fun things about raised beds that make them really easy to grow in is that it doesn't require a ton of bending over. I can just sit here on the side of my raised bed and do the work, and it's just really, really fun. Now, if you want to know how to build a raised bed from scratch and how to fill it with soil, go back and watch last year's raised bed gardening series. It's not near as hard as you think, and it's super fun to build your own raised bed so that you have lots of space for growing your veggies. You're going to love it. It's kind of hard to see the nasturtiums go, but it'll be fun to plant some fresh new flowers in their place. Here we go. A lot of these plants are looking pretty good, so I'm going to go ahead and add them to the compost pile. But if your old plants are pest infested or disease infested, you don't want to compost them. Now I am going to leave these peppers in here. I overwintered them and they're still going to grow here this spring, so I'll just leave them in the soil and top off my soil around them. But for the most part, the rest of these plants are going to go. It's kind of fun though, when you're pulling out your old plants, you get some nice unexpected harvest from them. These are some red mustard greens. They're so beautiful. But the weather's getting a little bit too warm for them, so we'll enjoy these today for a lunchtime salad. I'm going to pull out the stakes, and it always feels good to get a fresh new start. You can pull the plants up by the roots if you want to, or you can just leave the roots to decompose in the soil. It adds good organic matter to the soil and also adds aeration. It's kind of like composting right in place. Now let me just show you these strawberries here. A little bit tricky to know what to do when you have plants that you still want to grow. You can see here that they're kind of coming up by the roots. They were dislodged when I pulled up the nasturtiums, but no big deal. Strawberries you can easily transplant. So I'm just going to carefully dig around this plant here that I want to save. Because if I leave them in here, they would get buried by the brand new topsoil that I'm going to be adding. So I'll just set that aside and replant it later. Here I have some endive that has bolted. We'll pull that out. I might be able to save some of these leafy greens, so I'll put that in my harvest basket. But out come the nasturtiums. Pull out the trellises. It's actually kind of fun to remember everything we planted in here last summer. These are old sunflower stalks we used for a trellis. We had some sunflowers growing out them, and then get excited about the new that is to come. Takes a little muscle here. This beautiful vining green is New Zealand spinach. It's a very heat tolerant green. It's in my heat tolerant green seed collection, but it's super overgrown. So we're gonna cut it back and maybe I'll leave one of the stalks in. The great thing about New Zealand spinach is it will grow back after you prune it. I'm actually gonna leave this A-frame trellis right in place, no need to remove it, but I am gonna remove this tomato cage and just to clear the bed a little bit more and make it easier to add the soil. Coming out pretty easily. This is a super sturdy tomato cage. The design is very easy to build. This is my book on raised bed gardening. So if you want a great tomato cage, grab my book at CaliKimGardeningHome.com. You can actually get 30% off right now with the code SPRINGGARDEN. So let's go finish clearing the bed and we'll be almost ready to top it off. For easier access to the soil, I'm gonna go ahead and remove the drip or at least pull it back. That way we're not stabbing the drip irrigation hose as we're mixing in the new soil. Step one, we got the garden bed cleared. It feels really good to be starting over with a fresh, new blank slate. You'll notice here, there's still tons of straw and leaves and just different plant matter in the soil. Perfectly okay to leave that in. It will decompose, break down over time, and add good organic nutrients to the soil. Little bonus, a nice big basket full of greens. But you can see here how the soil has settled about 8 inches or so. So the second step in topping off your raised bed is to fill it up with one of my DIY soil recipes, half topsoil and half compost. You can find that recipe in my raised bed gardening book. We got some work to do, let's get busy. If your raised bed soil is compacted, you can just kind of loosen it up with your pitchfork. But most of the times, because you're growing in raised beds and you're adding your own soil, it's nice and loose and you can skip that step. Now, Jerry, you're gonna go ahead and pour the soil in here. This is just some soil that we're repurposing, we saved from other planting. Now, if your raised bed soil hasn't settled that much, all you need to do is add a couple inches of compost to the very top. But because ours has settled about 6 to 8 inches, we're adding in some of our repurposed potting mix, or you can grab some bagged topsoil at your garden center or get it from a landscape company in bulk. So first we're adding in the topsoil. We're gonna bring it up within maybe 4 inches of the top of the garden bed. And then we'll add the magic stuff, the compost. Nice job, Jerry.
Okay.
So if you're emptying out some of your old containers for the season, you can just throw your used potting mix right in the mix here.
Right behind you.
And that way it's a good filler for your raised bed. Now, one of the reasons why our soil did settle so much is because we added a lot of organic matter when we first filled the bed to really cut down on the soil that we had to add. We added twigs, straw, leaves. And so when that broke down, the soil settled. So go back and watch that video from last year's raised bed garden series so you know exactly how to fill your raised bed for easy and cheap. We've got our topsoil added. We brought the soil level up about 4 inches or so. Next, we're going to add some compost. Now, here is where the real magic happens. Compost is so good for your garden, adds great organic nutrients to your soil that are really critical for your plant growth. This is really going to energize and recharge your raised beds for your spring garden. Now, if you have enough of your own, you can definitely add that. But I didn't have enough of my own, so I just got some bagged organic compost from the garden center. We're going to add a few inches over our garden bed. Man, it's smelling nice and earthy. Our vegetables are gonna love it. Now, compost also improves the soil structure of your raised bed, which gives it more water retention and also helps the plants absorb the nutrients a lot more effectively. Compost is a great time-release fertilizer, so it will feed your plants over the growing season. Look at that beautiful black soil. Gardening is such a good workout too. Step 3, after we've added our mixture of half topsoil, half compost, is to add in some worm castings. Now, worm castings are one of the purest form of natural organic fertilizer you can possibly add to your garden bed. Adds good organic matter to your soil. Also has little worm eggs in it, so you're also going to be adding worms to your soil. And the great thing about worm castings is they have such good beneficial bacteria and microbes to the soil, which really help your soil fertility and help the soil structure, so your plants absorb all the nutrients very quickly and really get off to a great start. So it's a great thing to add to your garden beds. And these are the Vermistera worm castings. You can grab them over at vermistera.com and use the code CaliKim for 10% off. I added about 3 bags of worm castings to the garden bed here. It's about a 4x8 space. Now, soil is your biggest investment, so it's well worth it to add the nutrients that you can afford so your garden is very productive for you. Step 4, before we mix all of our beautiful nutrients together, is I'm gonna add some organic granular fertilizer here. Now, this is a balanced fertilizer, which means it has a pretty balanced amount of NPK, or nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium. Those are the nutrients that plants need to grow. Kind of eyeballing this. You don't have to be exact with your measurements here. And just grab an organic fertilizer at your garden center, sprinkle it in, and you'll be good to go. Now what I'm going to do is just get in here and mix my soil all together with my hands, kind of spread it out, even it out throughout the garden bed. If you want to, you can use your pitchfork, but I like to disturb the soil as little as possible, the current raised bed soil that's underneath, so we don't disturb a lot of the microbes and soil life. And then as we water our compost, worm castings, and organic fertilizer, all the good nutrients will soak down into the raised bed and really recharge and re-energize the soil. Actually feels really good just to get my hands in the soil. Oh, I just love the smell of fresh new garden soil. Step 5 to top off your garden beds is to water. Now, this is a really important step. A lot of times the amendments that you add are very dry, and you definitely want to water it so all of the amendments can be absorbed in the soil down below. So we're going to water, and then we're going to mix it in so the water is absorbed by the soil here, so that once your plants are in the ground, they can absorb the moisture from the soil, get off to a great start, and be able to absorb all the beautiful nutrients. So just keep watering and mixing until your top off is nice and moist, but not too waterlogged. I added my drip irrigation back in, and our garden bed is topped, re-energized, and ready to plant for spring. For more info on how to build a raised bed, fill it up, top it with soil, and plant in it, grab a copy of my book, The First Time Gardener, Raised Bed Gardening, along with my Raised Bed Kitchen Garden seed collection. We're going to be planting with this seed collection over the next couple of weeks, and you're definitely not going to want to miss it. You can grab it for 30% off to celebrate National Gardening Day with the code SPRINGGARDEN over at CaliKimGardenandHome.com, and also grab one of my Grow Your Groceries with CaliKim subscription boxes. This month's theme is Pizza Garden. People are having a lot of fun with it. You can get $3 off with the code GROWGROCERIES and grow along with us this spring. And tomorrow evening on April 14th, 2023, we're having a special live stream to celebrate National Gardening Day. It's at 5 p.m. Pacific time right here on our YouTube channel. Hang out with us for a Friday fireside chat. We would love to see you there and enjoy a garden evening together. Comment below, let me know how things are going in your garden, if you're getting ready to top off your raised beds, and what you're excited to plant for spring. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you on the next video.